Okay, so here we are at this beautiful lake in Totonilco. Estamos aquí en Jalisco. And life is good, right?
Life is great.
And so we've had this really great event, but life, I mean, it's not always been that way, right? So tell me a little bit about yourself. Jack.
So my name is Jack Morris. I was born and raised in California in a city called Norwalk, where I lived until I was about 12 years old, 13. I say where I lived because about that time I started going in and out of jail. So from the age of about 12 to the age of 56, I spent most of my life incarcerated.
In Norwalk, the One Ways?
Yes.
Oh my God, I got one of my best friends is from One Ways, Danny.
Danny Murillo.
Yeah.
He's a friend of mine.
Yeah.
We're from the same neighborhood.
Okay. So tell me a little bit about your life on the One Ways. How did you get involved with that?
Well, I mean, as young kids, we were growing up. We were a community. We all aged together. We were youngsters, 10, 12, 13. So our lives and our families' lives were intertwined. We knew nothing except the existence of us in our childhood and the family members of those that we were running around with. And of course that evolved. Eventually we became older and we became dependent upon each other for both support and for protection. And our lives stayed in that trajectory for decades.
So what decade is this when you're on the streets?
This was in about the last time I was on the streets for a period of time, and I'm talking, when I say period of time, it was till about 13 years old. After that, I don't think I remained in a free community for more than 3 to 5 months at any given time.
So this is the 70s, 80s?
Early 70s.
Okay.
By the 80s, I was already, actually by mid 70s, I was already in jail.
So from the age of 13, you were in and out of prison. And was that like, did you think that was going to be your lifestyle? Did you think maybe like the penitentiary, that's like college, that's graduating?
You know what, I didn't think it was going to be my lifestyle.
Yeah.
But in all reality, I was too young to contemplate what my lifestyle was going to be or what I was going to be later on in the years. The reality of it was that was my lifestyle, without recognizing that that's what it was. I believed that just the life I was leading was a normal, natural life, but it was not, of course.
It was normal because everything around you made it seem like it was normal.
Yeah, everything around me, everybody around me. I knew nothing else but that which I was living, and that I was living was leading me directly into the long-term incarcerational system.
So you start being incarcerated when you're 13, juvenile hall, boot camp, CYA?
Juvenile, camps, youth authority, and then prison. Yeah.
Okay.
The cycle is hundreds of thousands of us have done it, and it's always the same thing.
But something, so you end up in Pelican Bay, is that right?
I did. Well, when I first went to prison, I was 18 years old. I was convicted for second-degree murder, and I was sentenced to 15 years to life in prison. That means that I was eligible for parole in 10 years. I went to San Quentin, and of course, I was still living the same life I had been living on the streets. I knew no other life. So in San Quentin, I got there at 18 years old, and it was...
You wanted a name for yourself.
I didn't really want a name for myself. It was just that it was the same environment I had been growing up in. It wasn't foreign to me. I was able to acclimate in an instant. And the people that I was growing up with over all those years of my juvenile career incarcerated, they were there too. They were all in state prisons now. And it was not like, it was like entering into a familiar environment.
Okay. And how do you end up in Pelican Bay?
Well, I mean, prison itself prison itself is an environment where you have to become adapted to that environment. You have to acclimate to what's going around you, or become a victim to that which is going around you, or isolate from that which is going around you. When I say isolate, I mean turn to the police, ask the prison guards to protect you from this point forward, and you move into a different sphere of existence in the carceral system, or you acclimate to the system and you become one of the people that are surviving in that system. I did that one. I went into a survival mode in prison, and that led to me being charged with other assaults while in prison, and eventually it led to me being confined in solitary confinement on an indefinite term. And when I say
indefinite, what does that mean?
Indefinite means that there are two kinds of terms you could do in prison when you go to solitary confinement. You could be sent there for a determinate term, which means you're given a fixed term by a classification committee, which is made up of administrators of the prison system, and they determine, okay, you're going to be in this a determinate term of solitary confinement for a period of whatever, 6 months, 9 months, 15 months, 24 months. The indefinite term of solitary confinement means that your classification has been changed from an indeterminate term to a determinate term, or a determinate term to an indeterminate term based on a classification by the Department of Corrections that you are involved in or associated with gang members inside the institution. I was classified initially with a determinate term of solitary confinement.
Of how long?
9 months. But
whoa, and that turned into forever?
The 9 months turned into 15 months. When I was in there on the determinate term, I stabbed a guy. So they gave me in the shoe. Yeah, in solitary confinement. At that time, they would let us out into a yard once every 3 days. And I took a knife out there secretly, and I stabbed the guy.
And you made the knife inside.
Back then, we used to be able to have deodorant sticks, okay, where you turn it and it comes up, and it's in plastic. Well, I used to make fire because I had a lead pencil, and I sparked the lead pencil through electricity, and it would give a spark, and you make a fire. And I would build a fire with toilet paper, and I melt the plastic down and elongate it and roll it, and it becomes hard again, hard plastic, and you just scrape a point on it, and it becomes a homemade knife.
And that can penetrate skin?
That can penetrate skin. But when you're using a knife like that,
it breaks on bone, no?
It does, but what you do is you don't shoot for the body. You shoot for the neck or the face area. This is not to say I glamorize that. In fact, I would plead that nobody take this route in life.
But that was a reality at that time.
That was my reality. I would make a knife and...
But why did you stab the guy?
In prison, in solitary confinement, that type of weapon is not easily obtained.
Yeah.
There was a guy on the yard that was holding one, and he flushed it down the toilet when the police came to search his cell, and he lost it. And because he lost it, I was directed to stab him.
Oh, wow.
Because you can't do that. You can't lose. It's like having something very valuable that is very scarce. Your job, should you have one, is to make sure that you're able to hold it and keep it hidden until it's needed. This individual, and I should clarify, this individual just didn't lose one, he lost two. And as a result of that, his negligence resulted in a disciplinary action against him. And that was that he gets stabbed. And when I stabbed this guy, his brother was on the same yard. So it was a little added something that I had to be careful of. So I was not always a nice guy. I'm just telling you the way it was, not the way it is for me now.
Yeah. Okay, so this is how the shoe was at a particular time in Pelican Bay. How does that change? Because
No, this is how it was in the SHU while I was in San Quentin, while I was in Folsom, while I was in Tracy, while I was in Tehachapi. I was always in the SHU. I spent 4 years in the general prison population when I went to prison. After that, I was always in the SHU after that, no matter where I went. So it was the same thing. It doesn't matter what prison you're in or what SHU you're in, it's still the same process. You may find different materials to construct what you need, but isolation allows you to become very creative is the word. Yes.
So how do you end up in Pelican Bay?
So I ended up in Pelican Bay as a result of a staff member asserting that I was a gang associate. My gang association was based on the fact that they ordered me to be placed on into a specific yard in the security housing unit. And unfortunately, because I was able to survive on that yard, that meant that I was an associate of a prison gang, because their rationale was, if I wasn't able to survive on that yard, that would definitively demonstrate that I was not an associate of a prison gang. And it's crazy, because not everybody on that yard was an associate of a prison gang.
So you end up in Pelican Bay, and what year is this?
So they after going through all the security housing units for the last, 15 years, Pelican Bay was constructed. In 1989 it opened. Pelican Bay was determined to be a maximum security, the only maximum security prison in California. And
it's
it was
like a replica one, right?
Actually, Colorado is also maximum security. I don't know if the designs are similar or the same, but I know that the construction of both, the purpose is identical. It is to isolate, and I'm going to use me as an example, isolate me from anybody else in the general prison population, to the community as a whole, and to prison staff and other prison institutions. It's designed to, they put me in a windowless concrete box, and they put 3 locks on this door, and they closed it out, and that's where I stayed. When I was let out of that box, there was always a couple guards on me, and I had chains wrapped around me and cuffing my hands, and they had no movement.
What is your mental state when you're in this? Because you're like, you're in it because you're in it for...
I had not yet.
It's an honor-based system, is it not?
So we're clear, I was in the security housing unit on an indeterminate term, and ultimately sent to Pelican Bay, not for any rule violation that I violated.
Okay.
I did not violate any rule, and that's a misconception. It's propaganda that people in solitary confinement are there because they have caused some kind of trouble. That was not the case. Many people in Pelican Bay at the time that I was there, and the many years that I stayed there, had not violated any specific rule, except the rule that they were claimed to be associated with or a member of a prison gang.
And that's like, you can do that doing just flimsy evidence. You don't have to go to court or anything.
You could be certified as a gang associate simply by telling me hello. If I'm classified as a gang associate and you see me walking and you tell me hello, they will lock you up on an indeterminate term in solitary confinement until you provide them information on me or other people.
So it's a way to break you through torture.
It is designed to break you through torture. Human beings are social beings.
Yeah.
To eliminate the ability to socialize, to exercise your senses.
Yeah.
Whatever they are, perception senses, touch, feeling, talk, all your senses is designed to eliminate that. And when you don't have the ability to exercise that social skill, then you have to turn to living within your own mind. And a lot of people are not capable of living on their own, isolated, with nobody to communicate with
It
or
makes
have
you go
interaction.
crazy.
It is designed to make you go crazy. And I've seen thousands of men go crazy. That was the design of Pelican Bay. And that is the design of the prison in Colorado that they designed. It's the maximum security prisons were designed in order to isolate you, and the consequences were similar to the prisons erected in the 1700s by the Protestants in Philadelphia, when they said you had to go there, and it was called there were seminars at that time, and they put people in there to get over their sinning. They were put in cells to exercise penitence, and that's where the word penitentiary came from. We're gonna put you in this. Yes, they're gonna put you in this cell to exercise penance. But when they did that, people were going crazy. These are priests and people that are religious and trying to tell God, look at, I'm sorry for the crimes I committed, the sins I did, because they didn't know that the isolation would drive them mad. But they learned that. The crazy part is, this day and age, they utilized it for that specific reason, although they covered it with a different name.
So you're in this environment. I think people are coming, but I want to know, like, so how did this environment change when you guys finally decided, let's stop fighting each other?
It took years. Don't get me wrong. It took years, but when you isolate somebody and they have the opportunity to exercise social needs,
there's humanization.
They will. There's humanization. And even if you're classified as one gang and somebody's classified as another gang, or a race, even if you're classified as black or white or Mexican, those things
don't matter anymore.
Don't matter no more. The ability to be able to socialize. Hey, how are you doing? To get up in the morning and talk to somebody.
Because you can only talk to, it's not easy to talk to it.
You had to yell out your cell. Literally yell out your cell.
But that was, I imagine that was something important, right?
Well, it became survival. It became survival.
5 minutes.
So it was a socialization.
Okay. Oh, okay. All right.
Como tú quieres.
We got to cut this off. But so I just want 1 minute. Give me 1 minute. 1 minute. Okay. So I just want to get this one thing from you. So it's hard to. So it's a process over years, and finally
we realized we were all gonna die in solitary confinement. There was only 3 ways out of solitary confinement. That is debrief, which means provide the Department of Corrections with information against other people around you, die, or parole. You can't get a parole date if you're a lifer and you're in solitary confinement, because the fact that you're in solitary confinement, they classify you as being a danger to other people, and to get a parole date, you have to have no danger to society. It was a catch-22.
So that's when you guys decided
that's when we realized our enemy was the people that were putting us in the cell to die.
Okay.